I wanted to thank Steve for coming on the podcast. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to try to control myself from laughing so much because that's essentially what I do when we talk. You make me laugh. So I'm going to try to keep it serious because we want this to be a way for people to get to know you the way I know you and the way, you've been so awesome, helping me out and all that kind of thing. So welcome to the podcast, Steve.
Well, thank you so very much. Really, I want you to know how pleased and honored I am to be here. Really, I'm just damn proud to be part of the gang and to have been considered because last evening I watched all those other podcasts that were on the site, and I enjoyed them, and I learned something from each and every one, even from Doc. but he's one of my heroes. But no, really, this is great. I love what you're doing here, and I thank you very much for including me. I do appreciate it.
Awesome, and thank you so much. And I have a feeling that people are going to get a lot out of what we're going to be talking about today. And let's start off this way. How did you get involved professionally in music? How did that start out for you?
Well, I started playing saxophone when I was 11 years old. Why? Because there was one around the house. You see, my father had played professionally. Also, in my family, my grandmother was literally a world-class piano player and teacher and all that, his mother. And on my mother's side, most of the men were physicians, and most of them had put themselves through medical school playing. And, you would go to a family reunion and say, where's Uncle Harvey? Oh, honey, he played in Huntsville last night. He won't be down here till the sun's warm. So in my family, nobody thought anything of a youngster beginning to take a little of the elusive for playing. And so I grew up in a suburb of Birmingham, Alabama, and there were some men in our town. Now, these guys were in their very late teens and early 20s, and they had a rather successful rock and roll band. And by the time I was I was barely 14,
wow.
I had exhibited a certain prowess on the saxophone. You see, I'd been first chair in an all-state band. That's first chair, numero uno.
After only 3 years?
Well, actually, in Alabama, you couldn't try out for the band till you were 14. I made it first time.
Wow.
And part of the deal with my dad was, my dad was a very funny guy, and he knew how to motivate people. And he said, look, now, I want you to understand, son, you should go down there and try out for the band down there at the University of Alabama. That's where the auditions were. He says, you don't make it the first year. I understand there are going to be people down there that are more experienced than you, and there may be one or two that play better, but you got plenty of time. However, you make first chair, I'll buy you any kind of damn saxophone you want. Now, I understand that this was in early in 1964 when all this goes down. And so, yeah, I got down there. I made first chair. And back then we didn't have cell phones, of course, so I had to call my dad, collect. Dad, look, good news is I'm first chair. The bad news is I would like a silver-plated Selmer Mark 6, please. No high F sharp key. I want the Samsonite case. Now, if my father, who I was incredibly close to, was still alive today, and I think my mama, who is 91 and smarter than any of us, and in better health than any of us, she's still the matriarch of the family. But I think they'd tell you that as a result of them buying that horn, and they paid right up now with a smile, they didn't have to pay for 2 university degrees at fancy colleges. I didn't borrow money from them. and ever. And, you know, I've always been able to support myself through having a good instrument, which is something I think is important.
Yeah.
But then these guys that had this band had two horn players, trumpet and alto. And I knew both those guys, and they were both great players, very conversant in theory and all that, and they understood, you know, how it works.
Yeah.
And then one day they approaches me and says, "We've been thinking about adding a third horn. Would you like to come down and audition?"
Wow.
What? Yeah, okay, I'll come down. So I go down there, and we try, you know, just a few standard R&B covers. And I'd heard their band a couple of times, so yeah, I learned some of their tunes, you know.
Okay.
I mean, you know. And so, yeah, I got in the band. Now, I want to point something out at this point in the game. This is very important. Motivator here. The name of this band was the Fabulous Dudes. And the Fabulous Dudes owned, this is 1964, a 1959 Cadillac Eldorado 9-passenger limousine that said the Fabulous Dudes in letters about 2 feet high on the side. And you could be riding down the interstate and watch, and people going by you would go, and you, okay. And so, and these guys were working all the time, see, and they were working for real money. Wait a minute, how much is real money? Understand it's 1964.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I ever played a gig with the Dudes where I got less than $75. Now that's a lot of money
Back
in
then.
1964. Okay,
Yeah.
and they were playing. Let's see, I think the first gig I played with them was some kind of district Dodge automobile dealers conference. Okay, I played in the Dudes for a while, and then what happened was the other saxophone player, who was just like a hero to me, takes me aside one day and says, "Look, you know, we a couple of these boys in the band are going down here to the University of Alabama, which was, you know, making it a little inconvenient to hit all the gigs we wanted to." And he said, I'm going to pull off and form my own band, and I want you to go with me." Cool, I'm down with that. Because he had this, this guitar player that I was just wild about. This guy, Sam Shirella was the guy's name. Boy, he was man, he played with such feeling, you know. He was in your face. He was good. And some other guys in the band. So anyway, I left the Dudes with and went with Jeff's band, which was Jeff Leonard, the Nightcaps. And we did that for a while. And then you have to understand the time frame. This is the Vietnam War. And
Yeah.
sure enough, Jeff, the leader of the band, got called to serve. And so he immediately arranged for him to get into the United States Army band. But that's the end of that band. So I started playing with this other band. By then, I'd met a number of people in the music scene. And these guys who were closer to my age, and they were kind of the first long-haired band in Birmingham, Alabama. And we were wearing all those Carnaby Street fashions that, you know, the British guys wore, you know, coin dot shirts and beetle hats and all that stuff. And they had a good following. By good following, I mean, you know, young women and stuff, you know, like they was kind of well known because they were for the long-haired band in town and all that. And they could all play. Now, it was a good band. And before long, one of the guys that we had played for comes to us after the gig and said, "Look, I'm going to open this new business." What's that? The new business is going to be a teenage nightclub. Nobody over 18 admitted. Really? How does that affect us? I want you guys to be the house band. Really? And okay, you want us to, and I'm like, by then I'm barely 15, you know. Okay, you want us to be the house band? Yeah, I'm gonna do a lot of radio advertising and all that. Y'all be well known. Really? We already kind of well known, but that's all right. We're gonna be the house band. Yeah. All right. So we took the house band gig.
Wait, hold on a second, Steve. Wait a minute. So you said you were getting sidetracked. You want to go into classical music. Hold on. When you first started at age 11, what are the kind of things that you practice? I would have assumed it would be kind of classical stuff.
And we can get my mama on the phone right now, who my mama doesn't know a whole lot about music herself, but she'll say he would come home from school and his teacher had given him this big, thick book, said The Universal Method for Saxophone by Paul DeVille.
Got it.
And he would go in his room and he'd close the door. And until it was time to eat, he would play in that book nonstop. He'd eat and then go back to his room and eat. And while all that was going on, my dad built the family a big, new, custom-built house. Dad didn't build it, he had it built. My room, and my mama still lives in that house. And my room in that house, wow, they insulated floor, ceiling, walls, and there's rubber between all the studs. So it doesn't, that room is quiet as a tomb, Donna. So wow, I wouldn't disturb the family. So I'm in there knocking out those exercises for detached notes and, you know, theme with variations and all that stuff. Because I love that stuff. And that really puts a lot of discipline in your play, you know, because it really does. I'm a huge believer in that. See, now here's another thing. Given my musical upbringing from my grandmother, I've been listening to classical music all of my life.
Okay, cool.
And I believe, and still do with my private students, you know, if you're familiar with Universal Method by DeVille, all of those operatic melodies that are in there, all these guys come to me and they say, hey, Steve, I remember seeing you on TV when you was playing with Vince Vance. You was lying on your back, your legs in the air, playing Night Train or something like that. I want to do that, Steve. I'm good. Okay, I'm going to teach you just the way I learned how to do all that stuff. Here, take this book here. And when you can play all of this book, just before we switch you over to the 48 famous etudes by Fairling, then, you know, when you can play all of this book at the indicated tempo and to my satisfaction, I'll show you how to play Night Train. How about that? Lying on your back with your legs in there. But until you can play all of this book, you ain't ready to play. Really, I mean that. And I'm serious. And you can ask any of my private students. Now, they'll all tell you that. Yeah, Steve is the complete rock and roller and all that. But when we come to our lesson now, everybody now, except two of them, are playing Fairling. They've already gone through the Universal Method. Okay. Boy, I believe in Fairling. And I'll make you crazy playing Fairling for me because I know where all the bodies are buried. I know where every articulation and nuance and that stuff is. Because the guy who taught me Fairling was when I went to study classical saxophone. Okay. We all know that Dr. Larry Teal was the first guy in the United States to have a PhD program in saxophone at the University of Michigan. Dr. Teal's first PhD student was Dr. Ron Attinger, the guy who taught me classical.
Okay.
And Ron Attinger, what a monster player. And and you know, Attinger, when you came in for your applied lesson, and I was taking 2 applied lessons a week. So I would come in for my lesson and you had to sit on a tall stool in his studio, and Dr. Attinger would circle around you like a buzzard looking at his next meal, you know. And if you missed a note or didn't play something to his satisfaction, then something would be headed toward your head in the air. That's the way it was. But I want to tell you something, that Dr. Addinger taught me an awful lot about playing saxophone. And I very much enjoyed the time I spent studying with him, very much. I was going to college only because that was the only way I could study with him.
Okay,
And
got
at the
it.
time, see, I was playing with the reflections. So, you know, I didn't want to do this. So, except I went to study with Dr. Addinger. And the thing was that they wanted me to take English and political science and history and all that. Well, you can't do that. You can't be a music major and not take all that. Okay, here's the way we're going to do this, guys. So what I would do is I would go in with my advisor and understand I'm a hippie. And there weren't a lot of hippies then, okay? And I'm also a rock star, and because I got a record deal and I have that attitude and all that. And okay, what have I got to do? I'm going to take English, okay, and political science and history. Okay, here, you sign here, and I'm going to take 2 sections of applied saxophone, maybe a course in arranging would be good. I need to learn some more about. Okay, that's a lot. Don't worry, it's my money, you know. Okay, and so the next day I would drop English, history, political science, and those dummies, they never figured this out.
Oh,
They never figured out what I was doing because I was interested in the arranging class, and I took it pass-fail. I wanted to take two lessons a week with Dr. Addinger instead of just one. And it was great. And then after a while, we had the opportunity to go on the road. Well, throw me in the briar patch, as we say in the South. And, you know, okay, yes, sir, I'll go on the road. And then after we did that, I went on the road for a while. And it was time to continue my education. And this is another thing that I tell my students. And my father told me, and I want to pass it along to you, Donna, and to your students. Now, my dad, he had taken a lot of fancy saxophone and piano lessons and voice lessons and all that stuff. My grandmother essentially taught for a living, very successfully. My dad, when it was time to really get serious about going to college, instead of just this applied saxophone stuff and all that, it was, now look, go get a degree in business instead of music, because that way you'll know how to read contracts, read royalty statements, you know, all that. If you want to learn how to play, do like you've done all your life. Find you a good teacher and go take lessons. And they'll teach you how to play. It's obviously worked so far. And so everybody in my family goes to Auburn. So I went down to Auburn, which has a really spiffy business school. As a matter of fact, they even think I'm some kind of distinguished alumni. I mean, they have me have lunch with the dean and stuff like that. And they write about me in the alumni magazine.
Cool.
But anyway, I go to Auburn, and it was great. It was just great. It was a good experience. On big state school, you know.
Yeah.
And it was conveniently located about 2 hours from Atlanta, or an hour from Montgomery, and about 2 hours from Birmingham. So there are airports everywhere. Because by then, okay, so I'm down at Auburn. The reflections of history, Soul Times 9 inspired me. What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to form a band. Of course I am. Because, see, I know the agents and all that. I called up Richard, my agent. Hey, Richard, listen, man, I got this bass player you ain't going to believe and all that. Of course I didn't, but Richard believed all that. I knew I could round one up. If I said, by the way, you see, Richard Dingler is a good friend of mine. He gonna be booking. You know Richard Dingler? Oh, yeah, man. So I formed a band. And suddenly, we are arguably the most successful fraternity band in the entire Southeastern Conference. And that's a big market, and that's a lot of money. Now, at Auburn, now they didn't have a world-class music department, okay? Good college band, but not where you would go, you know, to study, you know, serious music. I had a guy that was teaching saxophone there, okay? Good guy, about 60 years old, which sounded real old at the time. I mean, I'm 68 now. But anyway, he was a great player, great teacher. You know, I go in, because I was taking lessons from him as a private student rather than university student. Because
Oh,
I'd
okay.
learned don't have any strings attached. Because, see, I wanted to be loose. I was only going to school part-time because I needed to be free to go play, right?
Got it. And
I didn't
you were
have any
taking
strong.
and you were taking business classes too, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. But why hurry, right? I mean, I was kind of a half-time student, no student loans, no scholar, no entanglements, right? My money, you know. All
Yeah.
right. So anyway, he's having me play Charlie Parker transcriptions and working out of the technique of the saxophone by Joe Viola. And I'm like, well, look, when are we going to learn some Boots Randolph and such that? And no, you got to learn all this. I said, let me tell you something. You don't quite understand the kind of gigs I'm playing. I make a lot of money. So you see that 1969 Mustang Mach 1 out there in the parking lot, you know, and all that. So they don't give him away. You know what? That's mine. You know what? I paid cash. How'd I get that cash? Playing the damn saxophone. Oh, well, you still need to learn how to play this. Well, maybe I do. You ought to try some of what I'm doing. I don't know how to play that stuff, and I realize it. You ought to add another horn player to your band. Professor, listen, I'm considering adding another saxophonist to the band. I want to use 2 tenors. Would you consider auditioning for the position?
Oh,
I said, you get paid just like I do, or the way everybody in the band gets paid. See, the way it worked when you worked for me then, this is in college now. Everybody in the band came to where I lived every Friday afternoon and got paid in cash, whether the band worked or not. Everybody's on salary. So
wow.
anyway, you would let me play with the band? Yeah, I'll teach you the repertoire. I mean, the guy could just play his fanny off. So, and no question about it, he could do the chart. Now, he was a little different than us. He was bald and, you know, I went, okay, come on. So I taught him the repertoire and I taught him the dance steps and I taught him, you know, how to dress. I loaned him some of my clothes and all that. And explained, you know, kind of what some of the ground rules were. And that, you know, what you see, you might not remember, you know.
Okay.
We might not talk about anything goes on, you know. We just wouldn't want to, you know, your job's to play the saxophone. And here's another thing your job is. You got this job without me auditioning anybody else because I need another saxophone player. I don't want you to think for 1 minute that I don't know a lot of saxophone players that love to have this job. But I picked you. So here's the deal. You're getting paid just like everybody else gets paid. Okay? Paid the same. But here's the deal. When I come in for my weekly lesson with you, but at that point, you are the teacher, I'm the student. Right? Right. But, you know, maybe you might give me a few pointers on what you saw me do on last weekend's gigs.
Wow, how interesting.
A critique, you know, to
Yeah.
understand that I know a little bit about playing rock and roll saxophone, and I don't think you know a lot, but I know you know a lot about playing saxophone, you know, and I absolutely respect your opinion. He was a great old guy. And so anyway,
Wow.
before too long, he's just falling in with the rest of the centers. And,
Jeez.
and I ain't gonna tell any stories now about what might have gone down, but you know,
You tainted him. You tainted him.
it was a good experience. So then, anyway, that went on for a while, and I was by then I was living with this beautiful blonde that I loved and all that, and so I had a buddy whose parents were extraordinarily wealthy that I'd gone all the way through the business school with. And he was a halfway bass player and an even worse saxophone player, okay? And so anyway, his parents had made zillions and this is Alabama in the early 70s, they'd made zillions in the cotton business, textiles.
Okay.
So they were scared to death that he, I guess would come into business with them. They bought him a music store there in Auburn. And so before long, his old buddy was the general manager of said music store.
Oh, interesting.
What a day job, throw me in the briar patch. And so one day I'm standing there minding my own business. And this couple comes in who I don't know. And said, we're new in town. Well, good. Well, welcome to Auburn. And listen, we're going to be the managers of the new club at the new Holiday Inn. And it was looking like it was going to be really nice. Oh, really? You are? Well, congratulations. And we're looking for a band. And my ears perk right up. I mean, a nice, expensive looking nightclub like that. They're looking for a band. What kind of band would you be looking for? Oh, we're looking for a band that a lot of these students would enjoy, but a sophisticated band's got to have a female vocalist. Yeah. I just happen to have such a band, which of course was a lie, but
right.
Yeah. I knew all the local musicians, and I knew a couple of women who were very good vocalists. Do you have an idea what your budget might be? But it's on a weekly basis, because we're talking about a 6-night a week gig. You see, that means you're never having to move equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of, if the money's right, it's cool. Because my lady, she was getting her PhD at the time, and she was teaching at the university. So anyway, I get on the phone, get one guy on the piano, one guy on the bass, and one guy on the drums, and one guy on the guitar, and a gal. And we have a quick rehearsal, learn 4 songs over in my living room, and go and audition for these guys the next day, knowing they don't know anybody else in town, right?
Right.
We get the gig. We get the gig. Boy, it was a good band. It really, I wish I had some recordings of that. It was a good band, good people, and all that. And then my wife at the time, and I don't know why, because really, I promise you, there was nothing going on between me and the girl that was singing in the band, because you don't fish off the company dock. And she was a good singer, that really, there was nothing going on. Well, my beloved thought there was something going on, and she comes in one day and says, "You have to get rid of Kay." And I explained, said, let me explain something to you that needs to be real clear. I run the band. You don't run the band. You don't get to vote with regard to the band. I run the band. Okay, well, tell you what. If you remember, part of my deal with the with the club out here is that I get to, I have a room out there, and I have unlimited swimming pool privileges and all that stuff.
Wow.
So I'll tell you what, bye. And so anyway, before too long, and all this is leading to somewhere, because something you asked me one time about how I got my notorious stage name.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it wasn't too long until I had, there was this young lady who, she was one of those early 70s girls with that poodle cut haircut, that all those rock and roll, you remember those? I'm talking about to the shoulders or beyond, right? Okay. And she was only about 5 feet tall, and she was drop dead gorgeous. And she could cook. She was a nice girl. Really, she was wonderful, just wonderful. And I talked her into leaving her husband and moving in with me. And so she moved in with me, and we were, by then I had a nice place to live and all that. And so every night, see, I had to go play. And so I'd be heading for the door with them saxophones on my arm, and she'd be in there watching TV, and she'd say, Stevie, you come straight home when you're through at the club tonight, because I'm going to leave the night latch open for you. And so that's how I became Night Latch, because, you know, one of the guys in the band were picking me up or were hanging out, you know. And she and the other girls and the other guys' wives or girlfriends, all that, you know, like, yeah, Stevie comes straight home. Because I tell you, I'm going to leave the night latch open. And I do. And so, anyway, that's how that went down. And so, unfortunately, and this is on me, I let her get away from me. And here's yet another girl that I run into that met me in the course of the rock and roll business, you know. And she also had that poodle cut haircut. And by then, see, I'm out of school. I ain't got anything much I got, you know, that I got to do. So I'm free to go. Where are we playing tomorrow? Denver. Where are we playing the next night? Seattle. Cool. Let's go. What's my fee? All right. So by then I began to do a lot of road stuff and all that. And then I decided, for reasons that are unclear to me at this point, why I would want to do this, but because I was doing real well, but I was going to get out of the music business because now I'll be honest with you, and you can ask people that knew me in the 70s, I had developed a couple of sort of bad habits that we won't discuss, but that's an occupational hazard. The record companies were giving it to us. You know, I didn't have to mug people. So,
wow.
No, that's the way that worked, then. That's the way
Wow.
that works. And so anyway, I got out of the business and moved back to Birmingham. And because of my education and all that, and because of some family connections, suddenly I am being appointed an officer of a bank. Well, I was academically qualified, and
that doesn't sound like you at all. That's crazy.
So there I am, and I did that for a number of years. I say a number of years, not forever. And you know, I'd be there in my big office and all that, and some guy'd come in and say, "Look, yeah, I'd like to borrow, you know, this amount." Not sure, you know, here you go. And then that night, he'd be down at, you know, some joint where I was playing. He'd stagger up the stage and say, "Didn't I borrow $50,000 from you yesterday?" Yes, sir. Sure did. Well, anyway. So then after that, I became a stockbroker for a while, and I did very well doing that, but I was still playing all the time. So,
Okay.
and, but I hated wearing suits unless they were, you know, like this.
Yeah.
You know, and they won't let you wear python boots to the bank, you know. So, anyway, I went back to playing full time, essentially, you know, and I would teach a little bit. And then because I always loved repair, I love repair. And I opened a repair shop with a buddy of mine who was a master luthier. And, you know, he was fixing guitars and violins and such, and he was really good. And so I was fixing saxophones and flutes, clarinets, such that, mostly saxophones. And so I'd do that, you know, what a good day job for old Stevie. And so I'm playing, I was at the top of the food chain in Birmingham, because Birmingham's a big city.
Yeah.
You know, and every night I'd go off on the road with somebody famous now. And, you know, you'd go off for a while and then I'd come back. And by then I'm there and I'm playing all over town. And me and another guy, among the different bands I had, is this other guy was a kind of a computer wizard. To understand, this was in the early 80s before that became fashionable.
Yeah.
And so he was the first guy. This is the first time I'd ever heard of Band in the Box. And so we had an act. He was a rock and roller. He was the guy that introduced me to Eddie Money, as a matter of fact.
Oh, wow,
Because
cool.
he used to be Eddie's saxophone player
Oh,
before my buddy, went into rehab.
oh,
And the job became vacant. He's dead now. But anyway,
oh.
matter of fact, he's also kind of the way I met Sharon, but that's another story. So anyway,
Okay.
he and I had this act where you got the two of us in outrageous tuxedos with tailcoats. You know what I'm talking about? You know, and shades and big funky hats. And we are, and a computer and Band in the Box, and we are the Sax Maniacs.
Oh,
And
cool.
we are, because of my, by then, see, I know all the club owners, and I'm best buddies with the guy who was the entertainment writer for the Birmingham News. Now there, Donna, is an invaluable contact.
Yeah.
And, you know, wherever I was playing, Dennis would write about it. And Steve is appearing. Well, hell, we had the best little supper hour gigs, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Money, good money. And we were well known. And so then there were some other guys that I encountered, and they had a good vision, okay? Because I don't want to go back on the road because of maybe some stuff, some evils I don't want to fall into again. I do it every now and then. Or if a touring act comes to Birmingham, they need to hire a horn section, and you know I can, do that. And Steve Goodson, low budget horns, yes sir. So anyway, these guys' vision was that we were all at that time about in late 30s, you know, early 40s.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. They're saying, look, there are a lot of people our age who are beginning to make a little money, and they're having class reunions, corporate parties, the children are getting married, and there's a lot of money. Now, here's what we got to do. We got to come up with guys who can play. Okay. We knew guys, all of us, we knew guys that could play. And we need to come up with, the main goal is come up with the perfect song list for that clientele. It wasn't about the band, it was about the song list. Okay. And then, Steve, would you call up Mickey Grisham? Mickey owned the best nightclub, you know, rock and roll nightclub in town. Steve, call Mickey up. See if he'll book this band. Okay, I'll call Mickey. So I call Mickey. Mickey, I got a good band. If you say so, Steve, we'll have you. Okay. So suddenly, you know, we all over the place. A lot of people come down to Mickey. It's a large venue, nice place. Mickey's a good guy. We down there, and we're knocking them out. And suddenly the people who come to Mickey's are the people, they're our people. See, they're our clientele.
Oh, okay.
And I sent you some MP3s of that band one time. Do you remember that?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll send them to you again so you don't forget.
Yeah.
We had the infamous Eddie Botsford playing guitar and doing lead vocals and 5-part vocal harmony. And I mean, that band ruled. I mean, it was perfect for that, you know, for that purpose. And, you know, now look, I'm thinking, well, maybe we ought to hire a couple of other horn players. Wait a minute, that's going to cost a lot of money to hire a couple of other horn players. Wait a minute. I talked to Eddie, the guitar player, who's just a musical genius. And he said, well, listen, there's a guy I used to play with, and he is a master of the synthesizer. And a real nice guy, too. And can also do lead vocals and knows how to dress. Eddie, say no more. Get that man over here to rehearsal. So anyway, Eddie brings in little Stevie Burks, and Burks is a master player and what a sweetheart of a guy. And so we agreed that what's going to happen is this. We already had another keyboard player, Frank. Frank was doing lead vocals. Frank was covering all the expected keyboard parts. Wait a minute. Burks's main job then is going to be to play horn parts on the synthesizer with me.
Oh,
I'll
interesting.
do all the solo. I'm going to send you the MP3s tonight. And you'll say, damn, that sounds like Wilson Pickett's horn section.
So wait, okay, hold on. Okay,
Yeah.
two things. Number one, didn't you feel, okay, I don't know about the sounds in the keyboards at that particular time in the synthesizers, how authentic they were, but also number two, as a horn player, didn't it bother you that someone was reproducing horn sounds and in a sense
No.
taking jobs away? That didn't bother you?
No, right. They weren't taking jobs away. No, really. I'm, Donna, I'll admit that I'm a mercenary. And if you talk to anybody who's known me for years and years, I say, oh, yeah. You know, in the immortal words of Bobby Gentry, you know Bobby Gentry, the singer? Yeah. In the immortal words of Bobby Gentry, he gave her a heart-shaped locket and said, to thine own self be true. Okay? Use your one chance fancy, don't let me down. You remember that one?
Okay, yeah.
I love Bobby Gentry. But anyway, to thine own self be true. That means those two people I didn't have to play. Two other people I didn't have to play.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
Okay, now I use horn sections all the time. Then that's another story we're gonna get to in a minute.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, this works so well. This works so well. Okay, and so I'm doing this, and we got big trucks and all that stuff. It's good, man. You'll hear the MP3s. And so anyway, we have a good time, and I'm still doing the Sax Maniacs, right?
Right.
Okay, so we land this permanent cocktail hour gig, 5 to 7, 5 days a week. And this buddy of ours had a club called the Rock Connection. And he wanted up, it was right across the street from this enormous office building, like a 20-something story monster office building. He said, if we was open for happy hour with somebody like Steve and Eric, that'd be cool now, wouldn't it? They'd come over here, have cocktails, and Steve and Eric would entertain them. Yeah, that'd be cool. So suddenly we're there at permanent residency, right? And it's only about 5 blocks from where I was living.
That's awesome. That's perfect. Oh my gosh.
Throw me in a good money. So anyway, way down there, and then, other people, because I understand that I'm at the top of the food chain, and other people would come in, want to sit, everybody knew me, and the other guy too. Now, he's dead now, so, but I knew Eric, and so anyway, I'm in that joint one night, and we're playing happy hour show, and in come these 2 women, okay, and I didn't know either one of them, but one of them was a 6-foot tall redhead, and she was wearing well, let's just say it was a short skirt. And so we had some other people on the bandstand then, it's kind of our show, But I'm watching these 2 gals come in the club. And then the blonde, not the redhead, says, hi, Eric. Eric, you know them gals? Oh, yeah. And we had some people that, made sure all the lights were right. We had dressing room and all that, and I said, give those girls a backstage pass. And they drank on my tab. Okay. Well, I said, and fellas, you fellas on the stage, listen, we're going to let you complete this show. I'm going to be leaving the stage now, and I don't know if Eric wants to stay or not, but I'll be leaving the stage. So, and there's one more set to go tonight. You guys just do it without me, because I'm going to go talk to that vision of loveliness over there. And so, anyway, this is how I met Sharon. Yeah. So we back there, and I'm talking to her, and then she tells me suddenly, well, what do you do? Well, I do different stuff. I'm a sound engineer. You're what? You're a sound engineer? You mean you kind of understand this rock and roll business? Oh, yeah, she knows all these people I know.
How interesting.
Oh, where you live? Oh, I'm not from here. My parents live here now, and my friend Gail lives here now. We were college roommates, and she's about to take me to the airport, and I'm going to fly back to New Orleans.
Oh, okay. All
See,
right.
I'm in Birmingham. And so she gives me her phone number, and we start this communication and all that. And she invites me and my girlfriend down for Mardi Gras one year, and we go, and she, such as that. But boy, I had the biggest crush on her you ever saw in your life. And so anyway, she, with a little encouragement, divorces her husband. And so she comes back up at Thanksgiving to visit her parents, and we have our first date, okay? Thanksgiving. And so I take her to see my band of choice, Sugar La La's. I'll send you a video of them too. You won't believe that they were friends of mine and some of my favorites. But anyway, so I'm saying, oh man, because see, this girl lives in New Orleans and I'm in love with her, right? And I get looking at my calendar and see I'm playing with several different bands. And one of the bands I'm playing with is my buddy Billy Bones and Bones Explosion. Billy, don't we have some dates next week? Yeah, remember? Where are we going, Billy? I wouldn't ask. I just, get on, Steve. Here, we'll take you where we're going. Oh, we're playing in New Orleans. We're playing in New Orleans for real. Yeah. We're playing New Orleans Friday, and I don't have anything Saturday, but we're making plenty of money. And Billy had a kind of a girlfriend down in New Orleans too. And he said, I was thinking that maybe we wouldn't come back till, maybe Sunday or Monday, something like that. You ain't got nothing you got to do. I said, yeah, I do. I have business in New Orleans. It's 6 foot tall and named Sharon. And so I go down there and I tell her where our show is Friday night. And she actually had another date Friday night. She left him at 10 o'clock and came over to our show just as Billy Bones and the band with me and it was going on.
Okay.
Stayed there with me. And then I spent the rest of the weekend with her. And by Sunday afternoon, Donna, we decided to get married.
Wow.
No, that's true. That's true.
Wow.
And in the 25 years we've been married, Sharon hadn't been to see me play but about really 6 times or so, only when I would be playing with somebody else. Because she says, if you were a plumber, I wouldn't watch you fix pipes. She's not the least bit impressed with anybody. I would be, one time I was playing with Eric Burden, the Animals and all that, House of the Rising Sun. And she liked Eric Burden. And so, can I go gig? Well, yeah, sure can go gig. I always wanted to meet Eric Burden. Can you introduce me? I said, hell, I just met him at sound check, but sure. And then one time I was playing with Chubby Checker, and she wanted to see Chubby Checker and learn to do the twist, and, just stuff like that. But she understands the business, which, as you may know, is often a problem, that your significant other doesn't always understand just how the business works and the hours involved and the distractions and all that. So anyway, that's all important and something we tell our students because we believe in a very complete and comprehensive education. We try to caution our students about that sort of thing. And we also, Sharon takes them shopping. So their stage clothes always look right, make sure they always got the right haircut or, whatever, and know how to act, and all that, and rock and roll etiquette. So, and really, Sharon's as much part of that as I am. And she is just invaluable at doing that because she's, as we say in the South, she stood in some tall cotton when it comes to the music business. So she understands how it's supposed to be done, and she has exquisite taste. So
this is interesting because, and just as a tie-in too, from your very young days of playing, right? Always involved in the music industry, and you saw a lot of things going on. You saw how people acted. You saw how people got gigs.
I saw a lot of mistakes made too.
You said that's right. You learn what to do and what not to do. No, what not to do also. Yep. But what's interesting is that it all kind of comes full circle when you meet Sharon. She understands this too. And as we've talked, over the years too, you're imparting that knowledge to your students. It's not just, you got to play well. I mean, there's no question, but there's more to it.
A lot of people can play well. I know a lot of people play a lot better than me. But, and not when I was playing for a living, nobody in town had consistently better gigs than I did, because there's more to it than just technique. There's a lot more to it, and what I do. Now, and it's very important to understand that. And that's something I think one of my good friends here is the professor of saxophone at, I'm not going to call the university because I don't want to embarrass him, but I get on him all the time when he comes to visit and say, listen, you are doing a magnificent job of giving these young people a musical education. It's great. And he is. I'm very serious about that. I said, but you're doing a miserable job telling them how to make a living. They don't know how to go get gigs. Now, when Sharon and I got married, I was so neurotic. And I'm usually not neurotic about women, but I always was about her, because she was just too perfect. And I didn't want her to let me go. So I immediately made it my business to set out and get myself some gigs. See, I didn't know but two people in New Orleans when I moved here. I knew Sharon and I knew Charles Neville of the Neville brothers. And I knew Charles from just playing places where the Nevilles would also be. Charles was a real sweetheart guy. So anyway, Charles, the first week I'm here, I ain't got nothing to do, right? I get on the phone, call Neville up, and he was in town. And I just want to let you know that I'm here in New Orleans now. You're cool, I'll come pick you up. And so for reasons that are still unclear to me, and Charles passed away a few months ago, and so he never did answer this. And I asked him several times, why would he come and pick me up in his automobile and take me around and introduce me to the powers that be?
Wow.
And say, this is my friend. He can play. He has excellent reading and studio skills. He is totally responsible and all that. He knows how to dress. So I would personally appreciate it if you would call him for gigs. Really.
Wow,
really.
That's amazing.
And I want you to understand, particularly at that time in New Orleans, this was the voice of God coming down from the mountain telling these people what to do.
Yeah.
And, as a result of that, I didn't have to slog away in obscurity for a while, because Charles introduced me to some people. At first, just the one-shot gigs weren't enough to make the kind of money I was used to making.
Right.
But this guy who was the professor of saxophone at another university here, we have several good music programs. Neville introduced him to me. I didn't know this guy, and I didn't know that he used to play with Delaney and Bonnie and a bunch of big time rock and roll act like that. But he was saying, "Wait a minute, Neville recommends you?" Yeah. He said, "Man," he said, "I've been wanting to take a vacation for a long time. My wife's really on me." He said, "All right, you got my." He had a 6-night-a-week gig. He said, "You got my gig for the next 2 months."
Wow.
Really? And so then I'm playing on Bourbon Street for good money every night. And, we take a break and all that. You go up and down Bourbon Street with business cards and get to know everybody. And you want to hear me play, and I'm up here at the Tropical Isle. That's the name of the bar. And all that. And so, man, by the time I finished that little residency, which was a weird thing, because the band in this tourist bar was fronted by this guy who was a Stevie Ray Vaughan impersonator, even with the hat,
Oh, wow.
Got to play and sing. But the owner of the bar insisted that Stevie Ray Vaughan would have had a saxophone player.
Good for him.
So before me was Frank, and then after Frank would take a vacation with me. And by the time I'd finished that, I knew just about everybody worth knowing, you know. And then Charles Neville, you know, of course, they're all the Neville brothers at that time were really at their peak, and he's off on the road all the time. And when Neville would come back to town, you know, he was hanging out over here with me because I had a few saxophones for him to play with and all that. We were very good friends. And, you know, Charles said, "Where you playing tonight?" "Well, I'm playing down here at the Maison Bourbon." You know, he said, "Oh, really?" He said, "Listen, if you ever want to take a night off, and then you call me." I said, "Charles, let me tell you something. I am not going to call you and say, listen, Charles, would you come do my gig 8 to 12 down here for $150? Oh, I'd be all over it, man." He said, "Anytime people call you and you double booked anything, you let me know. I'll do it."
Wow.
And I'm, "Charles?" He said, "No, man, I'm serious. I want to play." And he did. He loved to play. Okay. So anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, before long, you know, somebody called me for, "I can't, I'm already booked," you know, and all that. "But I can send a sub." "Well, anybody you'd recommend would be fine, Steve. Who are you going to send?" "Oh, I'm going to send Charles Neville." "You ain't going to send Charles Neville." I said, "Well, at 8 o'clock, when the big hand gets on the 12, you know, when it's 8 o'clock, you look through the front door, and a man's going to come in wearing a beret," because Charles always wore a beret. "Man will come in wearing a beret with a saxophone case, and he's very polite and soft-spoken, and he'll introduce himself. He'll be Mr. Charles Neville. And he going to play the gig. Don't worry. He going to do a fine job. And he'll thank you very much when the evening's over and all that." You remember, it's my gig, not his. But, you know, and Charles used to be my sub all the time. And, very honestly, I was his sub, not with the Neville brothers, but with other groups and such as that. Oh man, he sent me such great jobs, you know, all the time. And we were big friends. When people were looking for Charles around town and he wasn't at home, they would call here, ask if Charles was over here, because he was over here all the time. But anyway, Charles introduced me to, you know, you're old enough to have seen the videos of Little Richard and you know, that great horn section he had. Well, the guy who did all the saxophone solos was the great Lee Allen. And people used to say that Steve sounds more like Lee Allen than Lee did when he was alive. Because I got that chainsaw tone and all that. And there was a Barry player in all those videos, and that was Alvin Red Tyler. Okay. Well, Charles introduced me to Red first week or two I was here. And I don't know why Red Tyler liked me, but Red did. I mean, we just bonded, and he was a great guy. And of course, you know, what you played Little Richard's band and with Fats Domino? Yeah. You knew all of those guys? Oh, yeah. And Red liked me. So anyway, one Tuesday, I'm sitting around the house minding my own business, and the phone rings that afternoon. "Steve, it's Red. What you doing tonight?" Well, I don't know, Red. What do you need me to do?" Because he was my friend, you know, that's something he needed me to do. I go help him. And he said, "Listen, got a show here down here at the Superdome." Superdome, you know, one of them. "Yeah, it's us and the Nevilles." "Who is us, Red?" "Well, you know, Dr. John." He said, "Yeah, I know Dr. John, except I don't know Dr. John. But yeah, I knew in town, Red. I know you is." And Alonzo Bowens usually had the gig playing Barry at that time. He said, "But Alonzo got a cold. So I told him, I know the man to play the baritone tonight." Okay. So listen, we just got to do one 45-minute set. It's us and the Nevilles. And, you know, they'll give you $150. Well, what am I doing on Tuesday night, right? Nothing.
Yeah,
Till
yeah.
I get a chance to play with Dr. John. So I get in the cab, go down to the Superdome, and go in the dressing room. And there in the dressing room sits Dr. John and his band, of whom I knew several guys in the band.
Okay.
There's Red Tyler and Charlie Miller, the trumpet player. Red was going to play tenor at night. I was going to play Barry. So anyway,
Did you do much Barry playing? Because I
mostly, but if I could, I would. That was my
interesting.
choice.
Oh,
But
okay.
I call myself a Barry player by profession, but tenor's the money horn. So I get out, and down the dressing room sits Dr. John and Red Tyler and some other guys. And now you've seen Dr. John on TV, and you'll say, that's the weirdest guy I ever saw in my life. Number one, I want to tell you that Mac Rebenak, that's his real name, is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. He's one of the most musically talented people we'll ever meet. But that guy you see on TV and all that, that's what sits in your living room. That's the way he is. That is not an act. That is the way he is, absolutely. Okay, so anyway, it's about time to go on, and they come and knock on the dressing room and say, okay, you guys. And so we go and get in the golf carts, and we're riding around to the stage. And, we're in the golf cart, and I'm sitting next to Red Tyler. And Red, listen, I hate to bring this up, but we're about to get out there in front of about 40,000 people. What the hell are we going to play? And he said, well, Steve, I said, we've got the book that Ronnie Cooper wrote for us. Well, that's great, So, how am I going to know the order of the tunes? He said, well, I'm going to tell you. Thank you, Red. He said, the first tune is always Iko. You know Iko? Iko, 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 Iko. Okay. All right. I said, well, good. I know Iko the way Dr. John plays it. So we got a chart from Ronnie. Cool. He said, yeah, we're going to do that. That's chart number 10. And so we in the golf cart. So we're riding around backstage at the Superdome. And he said, by the way, Steve, that chart's written in D. We don't play it in D anymore.
Oh, there you go.
Really? What key we going to play that in? He said, well, we're probably going to drop it down to C. I don't know. I'll let you know. Cool. I said, what's the next tune? He said, well, I know just whatever Mac wants to play. And, I'll let you know about the keys. Just ignore the keys to books.
Wow.
Okay, Rip. All right. So anyway, we get through the gig, Mac actually, who doesn't know me other than to talk to me about 10 minutes in the dressing room, gives me a few solos and all that, and it's cool. And so anyway, we get back golf carts, go back to the dressing room. And so it's time to get paid. And the way it worked there with Mac, he's real old school, is you have to go to this table where the road manager is. And everybody, even if they're a regular member of the band or not, gets paid right there on the spot in cash. And so, you get in line. And so I get in line and I come up to the table and a guy looks at me because he doesn't really know me. He knows I'm somebody. I'm Steve Goodson. I was playing baritone sax. And he said, oh, yeah, man, you did good. You Red Tyler's friend. Yes, sir. He said, well, let's see now. And see, Red had told me I was going to get paid $150 for playing 45 minutes. Okay. I said, let's see now, Mr. Goodson. Here we go. Here's 1, 2, 3, 20, 40, 60, 75. Sign right here, please. 375. Yes, sir. I'll sign right here. And I turn around and there's Red Tyler and Charlie Miller, each one of them holding a bottle of liquor. But Steve, was your money all right? I said, Red, I want to talk to you about that. You told me that they were going to pay me $150. And, I was reading the book and all that. That's fair for a short gig like that. But so that man, Gary paid me $375. He said, oh, I knew he was going to pay you that, Steve. I just wanted to know how cheap you would work for future reference.
Wow. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, we can keep going on. I can take you all kind of places depending on your time frame. I don't care.
So Steve, all right, I got to know, Steve. Okay, as we're kind of getting wrapped up here, my last question to you is this: what was the funniest thing that happened to you on a gig?
Okay. One of the gigs that I kept this gig for 9 years, and until I had my stroke, I didn't want to leave the band, but I played with really the #1 convention band in the United States, Vince Vance and the Valiants. And I was Vince Vance, the master showman, and it was a great band. And in 9 years, we never rehearsed. We had 3 female singers and dancers. Now, the girls would work out dance routines and such as that. But really, 9 years, no rehearsal. Okay.
Wow.
And we were playing gigs, the top of the food chain convention gigs for huge money. Okay. So anyway, we're playing the Mary Kay Ladies National Convention, right? All them gals,
Yeah.
where they get a pink Cadillac if they, right? Okay. So we're sound checking. It's about 4:00 in the afternoon. We're closing the show. We're the headliner. So we're sound checking, and Vince says, we're gonna have to play Pink Cadillac. Does anybody know whether it's a 12-bar or 16-bar bridge? And there was a lot of I don't know. What do you want to do? And it's okay. Well, here, let's just go on with the sound check. We'll just wing it when we get out here in front of all these people. Okay, cool. So anyway, we proceed with the sound check, and the light guys, they're marking the spots on the stage where the spotlight hits, and the light company is running the smoke machine, make sure it works. And so we're still sound checking. They crank up the smoke machine, and the drummer in the band is the world's tallest drummer. Shane was 6'8". And so they crank up the smoke machine, and suddenly Shane stands up behind the drums. Now, see, that gets you attention. And he throws his sticks down, and he points his finger at Vince, and he says, Vince, if that smoke smells like that, I am not playing. You get yourself another drummer tonight. And Vince is like, hubbada, 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 hubbada. Of course, he knew he was kidding, but the sound contractors listening to all this. and see, this is a big deal. And, we're all, we know, because it's that kind of band. And so anyway, soundtrack goes over to Vance and says, well, Mr. Vance, what can we do to remedy this situation? And Vince said, I'm going to tell you, Shane is stubborn. He's stubborn. So here's one thing I know we can do. I know we can do this. There's a shop up on Magazine Street called Divine Light. It's in the 3400 block of Magazine Street. And you send one of your runners up there and get a bottle of patchouli oil and bring it back. And you bring that patchouli back and you put it into the smoke liquid, see? And so when you crank up that machine, this whole stage will smell like hippie girls. Shane loves hippie girls. And if he thinks the stage smells like hippie girls, he will play. And now the band is we're about to die laughing. We know what's going on. But everybody in the band is playing along with it. The dancers and all that are playing along with it. All our roadies are just, doing this and all that. And Vince says, I'm telling you, that's the only way the show's going to go on tonight. Otherwise, we have a problem. I'll be damned if they didn't go do it. They went and got some patchouli.
Oh, wow.
Smoke, but they didn't add it until we took the stage. I think, And when we did, boy, the whole place reeked of patchouli. Which brings us to the point of the story. The show must go on. There's your lesson for today, Donna.
And actually, this is a good time to wrap up too, because your history, it's just so interesting. What I found, the theme is that you made things happen. You didn't wait for things to happen to you. You made them happen. And people need to, I think there's a good lesson for people to learn. Even when you moved from Alabama to New Orleans, you said you knew two people. Now,
Two
granted,
people. Yes, ma'am.
one of them was very influential, so that, people could say,
Wait,
oh,
wait a
well,
minute. Wait a minute. If you lived with a 6 foot tall redhead, you'd damn sure get out there and start beating the pavement too.
that's true.
What'd you do today? Well, I laid around and watched TV. I ordered a pizza.
Right. No, you made things.
No.
You made things happen. But the thing is that, some people may say, oh, well, it was Charles Neville, so of course he's going to get gigs. But the thing is that even if that was not the case,
I had to have the chops too.
yeah, but you had to go out and you had to, you made things happen. And the thing that also, a few things here, it's the people it's the connections you made. And also, you kept true to yourself and you wouldn't, take a low paying gig or anything like that. You made things happen, throughout your playing career. But what's really fascinating, and we're going to get into a part 2 of this in the very near future, you were smart enough to take business courses when you were younger, but doing that also led to I'll say it like the second stage of your music career, and that would be repair, but also instrument design. And we're going to get into that next time, because the thing is that I think that if you didn't have the performance experience that you did and the entrepreneurial sense that you had to get gigs, it would have been more difficult for you in terms of, being successful with instrument design.
Well, I want to tell you this about that, Donna. Being able to design instruments and all that, it keeps me from having to get a real job. And that's top priority for me.
Absolutely.
I mean, can you see me being an associate down at Walmart?
Well, first of all, when you said the bank story, I still can't picture that. So that's still blowing my mind.
I got pictures. I'll send you some.
You definitely send me some, because that's still blowing my mind. But
I got pictures of me playing with short hair and banker's haircut and all that.
All right, you're sending that. That's.
I'm sending it, Donna.
I gotta see it.
Show it to anybody.
Oh crap!
Right?
All right. Okay, I'll keep it to myself.
But when you see it, you'll say, "Damn, it's just like he said." And
yeah.
He is. It's me and Eric Constant and Mickey Chandler and Doll Baby Freeman. I used to play a lot of gigs with Doll Baby. He was a black guy about 4'6" tall. Played tenor, played great, and they called him Doll Baby. And
wow,
he's in that picture with me. All of us cried around a microphone, and it's my moment of glory. I'm sure I'm playing the solo, and they just backing me up. But,
with the short hair and everything.
That's all right. I'm still the star, and will be treated as such. Thank you very much. Oh, do you know the take about pay by the note? This is a quick one. I was doing a set. This producer I knew called me, said, Steve, I need you to come up here. I need a 16 measure rock and roll solo on these guys' record, and just 16 measures honking. Okay, cool. I'll be up there in a little bit. I mean, they were doing a session in. So I go up there, walk in, and Mike says, guys, this is Steve Goodson. He's the raunchiest saxophone player I know. So he'll do your 16 measures on your tune. I'm going to run it for him let him hear it once. Then he's going to step in the booth and do this. Okay. And I said, wait a minute. One guy says, wait, before we get started, Steve, how much you going to charge us to do this? I said, okay, it's not going to be 16 measures. Here's what I'm going to do, because I like you boys. I'll do you 3 takes, okay? 3 takes, 16 measures, and Mike can splice them together however you want it for, $150, $200, okay? Or I'll make you this deal, because I like you boys. I'll charge you 50 cents a note. What? I said, yeah, 50 cents a note. How are we going to do that? I said, well, in my case, and this was a lie, but in my case, I got one of those little clickers, where you can count, and Michael just run the tape half speed. We'll click up the notes. And because I like you boys, I'll do that for the lower of however it comes out. You can either pay me a flat fee or 50 cents a note. Okay. So I go into the booth and I'm doing my best, because you got to warm up to the booth and make sure your reed's wet. And so I'm doing my best Coltrane sheets of sound stuff, And so Mike, my buddy, the producer, is in there at the board, and he's got the mic running while these guys, the band, our listeners, what the fuck is he doing? And my, that's just the way Steve is. And one of those guys says, stop, we're paying you by the note.
This is awesome.
I save that. I have that recording of them saying, stop, we're paying you by the note.
That is awesome. Oh my God. And you know what? That's a great way to end this podcast. And I wanted to thank you, Steve. We're going to definitely do a part 2, and we're going to talk more about your, we're going to talk.
You don't know the Persian New Year's story. That's the best one.
So we'll definitely get that into that next time. But and we'll talk more about your entrepreneurial spirit. But thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you so much. Really, you honored me, and have a great holiday and safe travels.